This is part 2 of the A1 CRM PM Pro application. What we're going to be covering in this portion of part 2 is basically the proposal development, but how it also links from the first part of the application. So let's go back into the CRM Customer Screen. On the proposal track, as you enter a new proposal and assign a proposal number, what you're doing is you're setting up a single process where you have each individual proposal having their own record. Consider this like a magazine. This screen is like the left-hand side, and you flip through different pages. As you flip through the different pages, you'll open up the additional screens that are directly related to this project for this particular client. So let's go look at one. In this screen, you can see that there are all proposals listed in the project screen. This is the customer proposal breakdown structure screen. In this case, the client is Apps by Von Clement. Project management that we're going to be talking about is basically cost tracking. The first portion of this screen is the actual proposal. Now again, like the one before, I can pick through different ones. But in this one, basically we're looking at this proposal that was started on this date or delivered on this date for this person, and this is the value of the proposal. And this again will be explained in the user guide how this is arrived at. Notice up here that we can go back to customer, or we can look at the customer list view from this screen. In addition, there are once again tabs at the top of the screen to display different portions of this part of the application. The first part of this is the project objectives. The project objectives are usually based on whatever the client gives you, either RFPs or any form of a request for proposal and the detailed information, or that could be derived from a meeting where you take notes for the principal items and requirements that are required from the client. And this is where you document those. And what you're needing those for is that you need to come back and review these when you're doing the WBS work breakdown structure to identify individual requirements that need to be covered as part of the proposal. Let's go ahead and go to the WBS Details screen. The WBS description is the first portion of the WBS. If you are doing a proposal and you break down your structure based on WBS elements, it'd be like 1.0, 1.01, or whatever as far as how you would break them down, 2.0 and so forth. This allows you to set up the description based on the requirements within the WBS for 1.0, and then go through and cost those elements that are related to 1.0. You can do that for the next section of the WBS as you go through. You can either paste in the information from a word processor or do the reverse and write it here and then paste it into a word processor to develop the work breakdown structure and proposal. If you're looking at the actual breakdown structure, you'll see the different elements. And in this case, what we've done is we've taken the key ones that usually run up against, and we've also added user-defined fields where if you have something that is not covered in this area, you can go ahead and create your own user-defined elements for cost structure. This is also covered in the user guide in detail. The next part is the project budget. The project budget has two parts to the screen. The top part where you're doing the numerics of it, and then the labor plan that you're doing below where you're actually going to document all the factors that have to do with labor. For example, from the contract start date, contract end date, the labor rate, the planned hours, and the actual costs will be calculated. If you're looking at those, doing these first as far as labor is concerned, you can see your major driver in any project is your labor. There's two parts to the actual bid rate that you're working up at the top of the screen. For example, if you're doing a sum of the elements, which is this line here where it's divided, you can take 100% as far as a markup if you wanted to, or anything below that. So for example, let's say we're doing a margin of 0.4 or 40%. Basically, it would give you the proceeds as far as the margin would be concerned, and then the total value of the project that you're proposing based on the original cost that you estimated. And this is the sum of your WBS, which is shown up here. As you go down through the elements below, what you can do is you can summarize or manage the items that are individual within what you produced in the WBS and give them an individual margin so that you can cost them based on the actual work group that's going to be performing the production of the items under the proposal. If you look at the top, you're going to see over here where the actual proposed price by the margin by the cost sum, which is the item above here, is generated, and then the total cost, which is the proposed budget here. If you're doing a planned labor sum, the sum of that labor would be in here. And you'll see all these items that are in the user guide are developed and also explained in detail. Okay, let's go to the next part of this application, which is the project cost management. In this screen, you're showing your WBS breakdown by cost, and this is the actuals. For example, basically what you're doing here is the actual cost date for all the items that are in your WBS breakdown. And as you're working down through them, you can have an infinite number of these as far as tracking the actual cost as it occurs. This is the way where you can check back to make sure that you're on budget and each individual organization within your company is performing on time and on budget. And as you're doing that, you'll see by date the cost summaries up here that will be coming in, and they're calculated based on what you enter in this screen, and then the sum of the project to date. Other item cost, this is where you would have outside labor or special things from vendors or manufactured items that are being done outside of your organization that are costed individually and tracked individually to make sure that they're on time and on schedule. And again, like the previous screen, it will track the purchase sum, and it'll affect basically by looking at the sum of the project up here, it'll tell you if you're on budget as far as the individual items that are coming in. So this is the sum of the project as far as other cost tracking. A schedule for the project can be done on a Google Calendar where you're actually tracking requirements and items that are coming to you as far as due dates and or individual deliverables that have to be tracked. This is similar to what you might do in a product like Microsoft Project. Obviously, Microsoft Project is something that costs well over $1,000, where you're looking at an application that is based on a low price at less than half of $100. So from the standpoint of cost, this is almost a freebie. One thing I wanted to point out is it's going to be covered in the user guide that this is a lock screen. Anytime you see a lock on a screen, that means that you're not supposed to make inputs on that screen. To return back to customers, you can use this button. And again, this will allow you to hitting projects to go directly to the project screens. This pretty well summarizes the tour of A1 CRM and PM Pro 4.0. Thank you.